Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. And Lonely Planet telling us we were pretty much not able to go through the plains of Northern Uruguay meant that we were determined to go through the plains of Northern Uruguay. We'd slept brilliantly the night before. We were refreshed. We were ready to go. We'd kind of figured out roughly where we needed to go. And we'd had the first idea of where we needed to go. So what I mean by that is we knew that we needed to end up in a place probably called Choy, which is on the Uruguay-Brazilian border, right on the extreme east of the country. Or if we could get to a place called Punta del Diablo, then we would aim to get there. In the Lonely Planet, it was good fun because there was no information on bus times. It was pretty much, don't bother trying to do this journey. It's pointless. Up yours. Don't do it. Just don't do it. But we figured out from Salto, we could get a bus to a place called Paysandú, and from Paysandú, we could get into a place called Tacuarembó. We thought we'd take it step by step. The first port of call was Paysandú. We got a bus down there, took an hour or two. Got into Paysandú, done what we do, have a good walk around, because how many travellers are going to say they've been to Paysandú in Uruguay? I imagine not many. Had a good walk round, and then had the Uruguayans and the Argentinians, Brazilians as well. Love a good meat platter. Absolutely everything. They also eat quite late as well. We're in the northern plains of Uruguay. It's their winter, so it's quite chilly. We've gone to this restaurant, and again for us being English, it's quite late. Well, we think it's late. It's about 8 o'clock in the evening. We're following this food recommendation that the guy at the hotel had given us. So we went in. The place opened at 8 o'clock. We've looked through the menu, and we've basically seen that you can order this big massive bucket of food, char grill of food, in effect. So we've looked at it. We've said to the waiter, we're the only people in the restaurant. It's way too early for people to eat. We said, yeah, we'll have that one, please. Now the waiter explained to us that if we were to have this, it would take about an hour to cook. I think he was over egging it. He said it would take about an hour to cook. You would be sitting around, waiting around for a long time. Did we want to do that? By the way, there's a game of football on TV. Yeah, I'll put the TV on. You can watch that, have a bit. So we thought that was a great idea. He was subliminally trying to convince us to go for something a bit simpler. I don't think Chef wanted to be cooking up that much that quickly, especially for the first customers of the evening, and especially that early as well, considering that most people will eat between 10, 11, maybe 10 and 12. So we said to the waiter, that's fine. He went off, and all you could hear, our Spanish wasn't great, but all you could hear was slamming and banging and shouting. I don't think Chef was pleased that he had to immediately start preparing that. Hats off to Chef though. That food was delicious. We had a bit of everything. I'm sure we had parts of pigs that we shouldn't have eaten. There was definitely pigtail there. I think there was trotters, whatever could have been on that plate, you name it, we had it. One thing we did come across, which was incredibly sexy, was morcilla, or morcilla, if you're in Argentina. It's effectively black pudding. But rather than what we do in this country, where you get some black pudding and you cut it up into slices and fry it, oh no. Over there, you get the whole ring of black pudding, you bang it in the oven for about 20 minutes or whatever it takes, and it will sort of cook from the inside. It'll explode a little bit, so the stuff will come out of the skin, and it's effectively baked black pudding. But holy mother of it is absolutely fantastic. Oh, that stuff's addictive. We got through everything, absolutely everything on that big bowl of food. A couple of things that we weren't too sure about. I don't know, possibly been some pig penis there. Not really sure. Try not to think about it, to be honest. But there you are. If you've never had pig penis before, when in Uruguay, feel free. So that was Paysandú. We thought we'd go a bit rogue. So the following day, we knew we'd be able to get to Tacuarembó quite easily. We left early afternoon because, again, that was the only bus that day was early afternoon. A couple of hours on bus. Turned up at Tacuarembó, and where we'd had no internet, nothing like that, we didn't do roaming on our phones. We got to Tacuarembó. It's relatively late in the afternoon. Because it's winter, the sun's going to start coming down soon. We had no idea where we were going to stay. So in our expert Spanish, we managed to talk to the person at the bus station in Tacuarembó, and she was incredibly helpful. She found a homestay for us. The guy came and picked us up. It was freezing fucking cold, kid you not. But we'd also figured out that the bus the following morning, because we managed to work it out, we could get a bus the following morning and we could end up in Choi in the afternoon. So we could feasibly get from Tacuarembó, where we were, all the way down to Choi in the evening. So traversing the northern plains of Uruguay was possible. Thankfully, the guy picked us up for the homestay. We decided to spend an extra day in Tacuarembó. We thought we'd spend 2 nights there. One, because we got there quite late. Number two, we just wanted to go for a nice walk, and we knew that the second leg of that Copa Libertadores final was going to be on TV. Tacuarembó was all right, quite tiny, not a ridiculous amount going on. We had a walk around. That was about it. Had some food, and we ended up in the bar in the evening. Watched the second leg of that game, which the Argentinian team San Lorenzo won. And I remember just walking back to the little homestay, and it was fucking cold. -2, -3. I mean, it was chilly. Considering we've been used to Rio 20-25 degrees plus, to come out here is a change of scenery, to say the least. What didn't help was getting up at 5 o'clock the following morning, knowing that we had to be on the first bus of the day out of Tacuarembó, because if we didn't get first bus of the day, we would just be stuck in the arse end of nowhere, which we didn't particularly want to do. It also doubled up as a school bus, which meant that rather than getting some shut-eye at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, we were inundated with loads of whinging school kids, which I don't think put us in the greatest of moods for the rest of the day. But rolling through the Uruguayan plains was fantastic. You've got the cold air settling around, you've got all this mist rising off the fields, you've got cows that are starting to walk around. It was serene, and it's almost like an out-of-body experience, in all fairness. We had to stop off at a couple of places, so it was one of those days where there'd be a few hours of bus journey, stay for an hour or so somewhere, get another couple of hours bus journey, stay there for a couple of hours, and then finish off the day by heading over to our destination, which again is Choi. About 3 hours after we left Tacuarembó, we were rolling through the plains of Northern Uruguay, visiting or going past some small places like Las Toscas, Cuchilla de Caraguata, Poblado Los Silveira, all these, all the household places that you need to go to. We ended up in a place called Melo, and as we discovered, pretty much like most Northern Uruguayan towns that are on the plains, we got there, you kind of know what to expect. We're starting to get used to knowing what to expect. You're going to get a main plaza, you're going to get a grid system, you're going to either stay in the bus station or you're going to get your bags and have a good walk round. In Melo, we were lucky enough to get off on time. We knew the next bus was in a couple of hours, so we booked that bus there and then. There was luggage storage at the bus station, so we just went for a nice long walk, stretch the legs. From there, it was a bus down to Treinta y Tres, which literally means 33. 30 and 3, 33, it's like bingo. Same principle, going to Treinta y Tres. We knew the next bus would be leaving in a couple of hours, so we booked that bus to Choi. Had a walk round, scared the shit out of someone running a little sandwich stall. So they love a good steak sandwich over there, which is they are to die for, I kid you not. We've turned up, our Spanish is a bit better, it's getting better day by day because we're practicing. And I'm not sure that this guy could quite believe those two gringos sat there asking for a sandwich. But we were sat there asking for a sandwich. Had a massive sandwich, great value for cash. Again, back to bus station and over to Choi. Now, Choi's an interesting place. As I said, it's on that border between Brazil and Uruguay. So what many people do, they'll come from Brazil, pop into Choi, or the Uruguayan side, it's a bit of a tax haven, get loads of cheap goodies, head back across in the border to Troy. It's pretty much a main road. You've got the main road through the centre of town, east to west. I kid you not, north side is Brazil, south side is Uruguay. You could literally meander between the two if you really wanted. Border restrictions weren't strict, put it that way. You could, one side of the road Brazil, other side of the road Uruguay. We've done the usual thing, popped off at bus station, found that we could get to Punta del Diablo the following day. We could leave at about midday. It gave us a bit of time to, walk up and down the main road in Troy. Not really ones to give into shopping, but, hey, if there's going to be a bit of Brazilian or Uruguayan duty free, then why not? Let's have a look what we can find. Bags off at hotel, knew what we needed to do tomorrow, went for a walk up and down. Walked in all these supermarkets and we ended up picking up a relatively inexpensive bottle of Lafroig quarter cask, which is about 20 quid at the time, which was very good considering the bottle would normally retail at about 35, 40 pounds. So a half price bottle of Lafroig quarter cask as well. Beautiful. Woke up the following morning. For some reason, which was bizarre, the hotel decided to put Aaron and myself in a double bed, which, not ideal, and it wasn't the biggest of double beds in the world. So that probably was not ideal. That being said, for about $10 a night for both of us, it was relatively inexpensive, very comfortable actually, in all fairness. Well, the following morning we got up and we kind of realised that we were the only ones at the hotel. There's hardly anyone there. I mean, you're talking about a duty-free town in, the butt end of nowhere. It's not really going to be ridiculously popular tourist-wise. But we figured out that we were the only people there. Our hotel included buffet breakfast, which, over there is mainly pastries, almost continental style. You might get a bit of meat. It's mainly continental style. We got up, a bit dreary-eyed, and we've gone into the dining room. And I kid you not, on three sides of the dining room, it is pretty much piled up with food. Yeah, eggs. I think there was a bit of bacon there. There was some, frying steak. There was juices, milk, dulce de leche, breads, pastries. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. The fact that there was only two of us there and they'd still gone and done full breakfast. I mean, the first thing we thought was, number one, jackpot. Number two, that's a lot of food waste, assuming they don't use the same stuff day in, day out. A hell of a lot of food waste. Pretty extraordinary, to say the least. And that had a great breakfast though. Pretty much stuffed ourselves with what we could. Took some extra pastries as well because, it's only going to go in the bin, so what's the point? You might as well indulge while you can. Just bonkers thinking about it. And then from Troy, we popped on a bus. We popped on the bus down to Punta del Diablo. The bridge, I think, that's Puente. Point of the Devil, something along those lines. It was highly recommended in the Lonely Planet guide. And we weren't quite sure really now about the southeast of Uruguay, or the east coast of Uruguay, because that's where we'd ended up. We knew that there's plenty of cool places that we could see, but we also knew that we wanted to spend a bit of time in Buenos Aires. We're still looking at the calendar, because again we know we need to be in Santiago for September. So now it was a case of it's winter time here. It's going to get a bit colder. Let's go with the flow. Let's turn up to a place. Let's get a feel for the area, stay a night in a hostel, go from there. And this was great because this is, we learned this shit from 2011, not to be over prepared. And that's where we'll leave this. We ended up in Punta del Diablo that day. It was pristine. The beaches were very, very nice. It was very cold as well. And I wouldn't recommend walking along big rock formations in flip-flops. Not ideal. But when we sat down and we reflected on everything, we realised that we'd pretty much gone into the western part or northwestern part of Uruguay. We had done something that even the Lonely Planet had recommended, couldn't be done. And that was a good sense of achievement. Yes, it was taking a few buses, but the great thing was it had really pushed us with the language, Spanish. We'd really made ourselves uncomfortable in terms of being in places we weren't familiar with, being surrounded by people that, we weren't able to communicate ridiculously well with. A bit of communication, so it pushed us to learn more. It pushed us to talk more, listen more, have conversations with people on the streets and in restaurants and so forth. And at the end of the day, we had gone across the northern plains of Uruguay. We had shown that it was possible, certainly, to do so within a couple of days. So there was a sense of achievement there when we got to Punta del Diablo. And even better, the hostel unwittingly had a massive log fire, and it was nothing better than sitting down, nice warm jumper, log fire with some Lafroig quarter cask. An excellent way to end the evening. So nothing is impossible. We done it, we achieved it. The question was, how could we get to Buenos Aires? How could we get across to Argentina? And how many places would we visit in southern Uruguay? We can find out that next week. Hasta luego.